The first thing I remember is the sound of her voice on my voicemail, bright, rushed the way a 22-year-old talks when her whole life is opening up. "I'll be late, Dad. Study group ran long. Save me a corner of that peach pie." That was Tiana, my kid, the smartest person in any room and the first to make fun of my overcooked eggs. I play that message sometimes just to remember how light sounded before the night got heavy. People think stories like this start with sirens. They don't. They start in kitchens, small ones, warm ones, where a dad stands there in an apron that doesn't fit, acting like he knows what he's doing with a skillet, and his girl laughs at him across a pile of textbooks. We lived in Redstone, Northridge town that looks gentle in the daylight, old brick courthouse Friday night football, everybody waving like they mean it. But at night, truth comes out, the kind nobody writes in the tourist brochure. Tiana wanted to save lives. Said it like a job description. Cardiac community. Health, the whole nine. Me, I was retired Federal Fugitive Task Force, 28 years, a drawer full of plaques nobody looks at. I used to think the law was a place you could stand and not get moved. I used to think a lot of things. They said it was an overdose. That's what the paper printed anyway. Young woman found unresponsive in her car, like she just misplaced her pulse on the way home. By the time I saw her cold lights, colder stainless steel, those lies were already set in ink. I didn't have to be an investigator to see the marks on her neck, the bruising on her wrists. I asked the detective on duty, a man with coffee breath and a script in his eyes, "You see what I'm seeing?" He didn't blink. "Toxicology will confirm. Sorry for your loss," like it was customer service, like I could return my daughter for store credit. If you've ever been underestimated, you know the look people give when they decide who you are before you open your mouth. In that moment, I went from agent crosser to old man making trouble. Every door I pushed on said the same thing back lightly, politely, "No." The chief, Raymond Millen, leaned back in his leather chair, fingers steepled like a TV pastor. "It's tragic," he told me, "but we can't invent crimes where there aren't any." "Then you don't have to," I said. "I'll find the ones that already happened." He smiled at me, that small town king smile. "Don't do anything you'll regret, Mr. Cross." Here's what people never understand about a man who's lost everything. He's not trying to be dangerous. He just no longer remembers how to be safe. The one who started the traffic stop, Officer Brock Harlan, was the kind of man who fills a doorway and expects the room to salute. He had a bulldog jaw and a laugh that sounded like something breaking. The rookie riding with him, Jake Rose, still had hope in his eyes, the kind that keeps a man up at night when the uniform's on the floor and the badge is on the dresser. But hope is just a houseplant. If you stop watering it, it dies. I didn't rush. I watched. Old habits came back like muscle memory, routes, routines, blind corners, cameras no one knew were there. Redstone thinks security is a lock that squeaks. I set little hooks in that squeak. Pulled down patrol logs and meal breaks, learned who they were when they thought no one was looking. I'm not proud of how easy it was. The first time I touched the line, I swore I wouldn't cross. It was just paper. A note under Harlan's windshield wiper, 4 words in block letters. "I know what happened." I watched from across the lot while he cocked his head, grinned, and crumpled it. "Arrogance is a slow poison. It makes men sloppy." Good. Let him drink. Millen got a phone call from a block number. No words, just 30 seconds of audio. I shouldn't have had my child's voice strangled, pleading. Then a click. His hand shook just enough for the glass on his desk to ring. In his world, fear was a rumor. I made it a fact. And Ro, the kid, I sent him 2 words from a burner. "You remember." I didn't need to see his face to know the color drained from it. The camera above his desk showed his hands hovering over the keyboard like he was trying to type an answer that didn't exist. That's where the story could have ended, me playing ghost, them losing sleep. But grief isn't content with insomnia. It wants a body count. Rain was coming sideways the night I stepped out of a loading bay shadow behind Harlan. He smelled like whiskey and gym chalk. I pressed the barrel into his ribs before he could turn. "Walk," I told him. We moved between dumpsters and chain link and the hum of a dying light. "You picked the wrong man," he said, trying to swell his voice up to full size. "You picked the wrong girl," I said back, and I could feel my hands wanting a future they couldn't give me. He swung first, heavy, untrained. I put him on the hood of a car so hard the alarm hiccuped. "She begged," I told him, My breath ragged, my own voice sounding like a stranger's. She begged you to be what you said you were. Just another, he spat, and I don't remember making the choice, only the echo, and the way the rain turned a different color for a second. He slid to the asphalt, looking surprised to find out he could bleed like the rest of us. You want me to say it felt good? It did, and it didn't. Revenge is sugar on a cracked tooth. It tastes like something you deserved right up until the pain reminds you why you took it. Millen was smarter. Men who live on secrets learn to hear their own heartbeat. He started triple locking doors, changing routes, staring at rearview mirrors like they owed him money. I waited in his garage. Not poetic, just practical. He stepped out of the SUV, the door rolling down behind him, and we stood there in the smell of gasoline and old grass. You think this brings her back? He asked, palms out, the practiced empathy of a career liar. You think this makes you different from us? I don't, I said. I think it makes you visible. It wasn't a clean fight. He was bigger than he looked, and fear makes a man mean. But fear doesn't teach you leverage. In the end, it was quiet, too quiet, and then it was over. I leaned against the tool bench, hands shaking something in my chest, tearing that wasn't muscle. By then, the town was buzzing whispers about a vigilante, a ghost with old training, and a new reason. One person said it out loud where it mattered, Detective Maya Ellison. I'd seen her around, sharp eyes, tired shoulders. She knocked on my door one afternoon, and we had the kind of conversation you have when both people already know what the other is not saying. Walk away. She told me not as a cop, as a person. I can't protect you from the part of you that thinks this is the only road. I already left the road. I said, the last piece was Roe. I found him in a motel off the frontage road, the sort of place where carpets swallow confessions. He opened the door and didn't bother pretending to be surprised. I knew you'd come, he said, voice raw. I hear her every night. Why didn't you stop them? He looked at the floor like it was a person who'd asked too much of him. Because I was afraid, he whispered. Because I was weak. And now I can't live with it. I raised the gun and caught my reflection in the black of it, hollow-eyed jaw, clenched somebody I wouldn't have let meet my daughter. I had this insane thought, if I pull the trigger, I won't be finishing anything. I'll be erasing the last version of me that remembers how it felt to be her dad. I lowered the gun. You want to make this right, I said. Then tell the truth. He swallowed hard. They'll kill me. They already are, I said. He nodded, tiny like a man agreeing to jump before he changes his mind. The door blew open behind me, boots brass steel. Hands, Ellison said, voice steady but not hard. Leonard Cross don't make me choose between the part of me that understands and the part of me that has to do her job. The room smelled like fear and cheap cleaner. I stared at the gun on the bedspread and thought about how easy it would be to reach down and let everything end in one loud second. I thought about Tiana stealing bites of pie, calling me Chef Disaster, about peach juice on a paper towel, and laughter in a room where nothing bad could ever happen. For you, I said to a space I couldn't see, and I raised my hands. I stopped. People want a victory you can put on a t-shirt. That's not how this turned out. Roe told the truth. He handed over texts, body cam gaps, the real patrol, logged the plan, the pressure. He cried on the stand, not for me, not for Tiana, for the man he wasn't and knew he could have been. Harlan and Millen's history bled into the aisle complaints. Buried girls ignored citizens who learned the hard way how loud a badge can be. Redstone finally saw itself with the lights on. The DA brought charges. Not oops charges, real ones. The department lost sleep, then leaders, then the illusion it ever deserved, the word trust. I went on trial too. You can call what I did a lot of things. The law calls some of it murder. The judge asked me if I had anything to say, and I told him the truth. I'm sorry it took my daughter to make me see how many other people's daughters were out there. If you're waiting for a bow on the story, there isn't one. There's a campus where students hold candles on the anniversary of a girl they never met. There's a detective who writes me a letter once a year and doesn't sign it, just slides a photo in another kid in a white coat, another father holding a program in a shaky hand. There's a motel where a young cop once decided to live long enough to tell the truth, and last I heard he's working night shift 2 counties over trying to be the man he promised me he'd be. And there's me, a man who did what he could and too much he shouldn't, standing at a kitchen counter with an apron that still doesn't fit, burning eggs on purpose because it's the only way I know to keep a promise to a voice on a voicemail that says, "Save me a corner of that pie." Now it's your turn. Tell me what justice means where you live. Tell me if you've ever been talked over, sized up, called crazy for refusing a lie. Tell me if you think I was wrong or if wrong was the only road left. Drop it in the comments, your city, your story, your line in the sand, because the only way a place like Redstone changes is when enough of us say out loud what we've already felt in our bones. The law is not a place you stand, it's a thing you build, and you don't build it by yourself.